It's May 31st, 2023, and we're at Amerigo Farms at their Central Florida location in Mount Dora. And I'm here with John Albers, who is the owner and founder of Amerigo Farms. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
John, can you tell us a little bit about your businesses?
We started way back in the last century, in the late 70s, growing potted mums, and then over time, because of market demand, we branched out into calla lilies, and we have become North America's largest supplier and highest quality supplier to retail trade, to box stores, etc., grocery. Starting out in Canada, we discovered, much to our surprise, that our crop really liked to be outside in the summertime. The colors were much stronger, the plant was stronger. Customers could hardly believe that it was the same crop. So we took that philosophy with us to Florida in 07, and because the sun shines for free in Florida, and of course there are peaks and valleys in every product that's grown in a greenhouse, and of course in Florida it can be excessively bright and hot as well. But we have managed, with the help of a 35% automatic shade screen, to mitigate that bright peak during the day, that hot peak. So that's given us super flexibility to grow all the way through the spring season, and then also we begin production as well for October sales, which is still hot in Florida. Let me tell you, being in Canada, October is like, you have frost already, and here you think, oh my goodness, will summer ever end? And it's still hot like blazes in October. But regardless, the house performs very well. The shading helps us tremendously. We wouldn't even attempt to grow these crops without it. This particular house here, we have a double shade system, 35% above a 65% layer. And what that does, it gives us flexibility to grow pretty much any crop that's in demand in Florida and surrounding states through the summertime. So that gives us a great opportunity to say yes to customers, which these days we don't want to say no, because then they just ask somebody else and you don't get a second chance. So we always say yes, and then we depend on Cravo to help us figure it out, right? So yes, exactly.
Very good. So when you first started was in Canada in the early 2000s, and then you've continually expanded with retractable roofs ever since. And the main reason is you were getting better quality, better colors, better shelf life. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. All of the above.
Yeah.
There's really no comparison to natural light, and as long as you can mitigate its intensity at some point during the season, during the day. Obviously, if you're growing in February, then plants can take all of the sun that's there. It's still lower in the horizon, and it's not hot yet. So, but as soon as it gets into late March and April, we need to take the peak heat and brightness out of every day. Yeah.
Right. And so you have 3 locations, one in Canada, one in the east coast of the United States, and now here in Florida. And all 3 have different environments, and yet you're still getting benefits with the retractable roofs and the internal screens.
Certainly, each of those facilities is in a different climate zone. South Carolina is kind of interesting because it's really shares a lot of both Florida and Niagara. So we're learning. That's 2 years that we've been there. So we're learning how to best manage the crops there as well, and which times of the year are best suited for that. We're a bit spoiled in Niagara and here as well with logistics. It's especially Niagara. You can put a pallet of product together and it can go almost any day of the week to almost any destination east of the Mississippi and north of the Gulf of Mexico in the United States. In South Carolina, it's not really a big greenhouse grower production footprint. So we use that facility more to support local customers there, and also later in the season when it's too hot, really here in Florida, or early in the fall when it's still too hot here, that we use that to support our Canadian operation. So it's very easy to build in the United States.
Yes.
I like to say that here, when you stand in a greenhouse here in Florida, you're standing on the freest land, in the freest state, in the freest country. So in Niagara, we are bedeviled with regulation, and in order to build something in Niagara, it takes years. Here in Florida, you don't even need a building permit. So what can I say?
Yes.
It's perfect.
In terms of your experience, you started off with conventional houses, and then you slowly started in retractable roofs. And people often ask, when do you retract the roof? And we often say, it's usually we look the other way. We want the crops outside, and we want to know when to close a roof.
Yes.
Or close a curtain, or close a wall. So can you tell us a little bit about how that decision is made?
So the greenhouse is essentially the same. We treat it as a closed structure.
Okay.
And so when local weather is either raining or too bright or too cold, then the computer senses all of this and closes the system. I think the only time that we ignore that is if there's either a hurricane warning, and then we have a protocol for battening down the hatches. We call it getting ready, and then in a hurricane situation, we like to leave it open. Tropical storm, we like to leave it closed. It's just our way of dealing with the
inevitable hurricane season. Tomorrow, I believe, is the first day of the season here in Florida.
Yeah, so am I nervous about hurricane season? Well, we've been here since 2008. Hurricanes are pretty much about 60 miles an hour and up, and in Niagara, in summertime, you can get a thunderstorm, and you easily get that kind of wind for hours as well. So here in Central Florida, we are typically protected from, hurricanes are always starting out over the ocean and the Gulf, so as soon as they hit land, they dissipate to some degree, and so by the time they get here, even if it's a category 3 or more, it's usually like a 1, maybe 1 to 2 here, and so mostly we just try to keep all the loose stuff that's around the greenhouse, pallets and ladders or whatever, carts, try to keep that very consolidated so it doesn't blow around.
Very good, very good. For those watching this video and are looking at Cravo but have never worked in one before, could you share maybe a couple of your thoughts on what they need to know, some of the key learnings or your experiences?
It's more versatile than a conventional house. I would say that there is less mechanical stuff that is with it as well. You can say, well, you have to open up the whole room, but it's really quite a simple system, and it's quite rugged. So you know, there's some annual checks that we do on the drive system and on you know, where the roof is fixed to the drive lines. But other than that, it's easy. So I think I would rather own a Cravo house than any other house. Period. I don't care. Venlo or double poly or the open roof poly. That's all that stuff is just too mechanical, and doesn't respond well enough to the opportunities that that an open roof climate allows.
Been taking advantage of Mother Nature. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We love Mother Nature. She can be a little bit extreme at times, and we find that the Cravo structures mitigate that, whether it's high wind or cold or excessive sun, rain.
Very good.
Manages it well.
Well, thanks for sharing your experiences, John, and continued success as your family business continues to grow and grow here in South Florida. That's it from Cravo. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ben.